Oke, ada lagi yang mau tanya? Kalau nggak ada lagi, saya mau kasih kesempatan ke Farah. Sorry, Farah.
Yeah, so
Go ahead, sayang.
yeah, thank you, Prof. Well, I want to make a comment and also ask one question that I've been curious about to Ole. But first of all, since Prof. Richard and Dr. Mari has been discussing about the education in Indonesia or any parts of the world, education in the formal schools and so on. So as I said before, I have once volunteered in an organization. So in that organization, I have an experience that we wanted to make an additional or a new curriculum towards the students of the primary schools or the middle school, because we think that we have to build our characters much earlier in life. Because when we grow older, then it will be hard to shape it, right? So we actually made an effort to try to formulate how can we change the curriculum to the government, right? Because it will be hard if it's not implemented in schools. But then as we are making that effort, it is actually very hard because of the bureaucracy and everything. So we ended up making an informal classes that provides character building and so on for children, for the unfortunate ones, of course. And yeah, I think in order for us to change that, we need to be in the leading in the government, I think, because it will be hard to change it. And then, well, as for my question for Ole, well, you mentioned that you've been having many challenges in life ever since you started your truth-seeking journey. You said you've been shot, or your families are threatened, or many even others, your friends or anyone, you said that they are assassinated and so on. So what I want to question is, how did you manage to convince yourself to continue this journey? Because it's a hard decision, right?
So actually, sorry, Ole. Actually, there are two questions about you, about how to change something established like curriculum. Maybe Mari can answer that.
I would very much like to, if I can answer that one as well. Is that okay?
Sure.
I'm a very good friend of a woman in the US called Charlotte Iserbit. Charlotte Iserbit, very strange name, but wonderful woman. And she was, during the Reagan administration, she was put as head of education in the US. And she was given this beautiful office near the White House and in Washington and all. And she was like, I don't understand why have they chosen me? I'm not the best one. But they said, no, you're the one we want. Okay. So she said, great. And so she went there and she was really excited. My God, I'm going to really make a difference here. You know, this is going to be amazing. She came to a new office. They said, here's your room. Here's like that. Make yourself comfortable. The coffee is over there. Thank you and goodbye. And so she was like, what's going on here? And she kept asking, you know, day in, day out, what should I do? They said, that's to go play golf, have a nice time. And she said, but I'm sort of like in a top position in the educational system. What is going on? They said, don't worry about it. So she was getting very frustrated because she didn't understand what was going on. And then so she was going through this big office, and it was completely cleaned out, you know, from the person who had been there before, except there was one cabinet filled with documents that somebody had forgotten. So she started, because she was bored, she started looking through it, and she started seeing oh my God, that there was this plan all the way from the late 40s on how to destroy education worldwide. Step by step by step by step to replace real education, real information that is of value for somebody's life, and refill and change it, exchange it with absolute like nonsense, like so many things that it's so important, you're never going to use it, but it's very important for the test, you know, like that your mind is just like this. And also what really shocked her was that as part of that destruction of the education system, because when we're highly educated, really educated, we are difficult to control. When we are filled with a lot of information that is absolutely useless, we can easily be manipulated because we don't know, we're confused, you know, like we're much more easily controlled. But also what she saw was that there was a very clear plan on how to destroy families, how to get drugs into families on a young age, how to get sex into the families on a very young age. And also, this was in 1980, something like that. Already there, they were talking about how to get the computers in and how to get the future generation to get hooked up through different technical devices, cell phones, mobile phones, to the internet, so that they would be totally hooked there, and so that they would have no perseverance, they would have no patience, they would want it reward and, you know, very quickly, and no strength, no inner strength. And so she was shocked about this, and so she started talking to other people and said, yeah, they said, yeah, for sure, everyone knows that, but don't speak about it. So anyway, what she did was she started smuggling out documents with a friend of hers. She started taking a lot of photocopies of all of these documents and took them home. And then she wrote a book that you can download for free. It's called The Dumbing Down of America. The Dumbing Down of America. She has also been almost killed several times. Her son was shot, threatened. I mean, this is the thing for people that stands up and exposes. Welcome to my club. So anyway, this is on an international basis. Education is super important when it comes to control of population. It is in the mind. That is where they get into and how they. So the education nowadays is going, if you haven't noticed, it's going like this. People, many times, I mean, I don't know what it's like in Indonesia, but people come out, they graduate out of high school and they can't even spell. It's like unbelievable. It's like on a level that is just like, and it is very, if you read that book, The Dumbing Down of America, and I would strongly say that they are for sure very heavily in Europe, and I would not be surprised also in Indonesia, because very often countries in this part of the world look up to countries in the West in many different ways and take after and start importing what they are doing over there. But it's done by design, how to, you know, dumb us down.
Shocking, Amari.
Yes, absolutely shocking. So, my experience, okay, so one key or two keywords is critical thinking. So I think, Farah, when you talk about curriculum and how to change or improve curriculum, I think it needs to be directed into one goal, which actually enable students, scholars, or anyone to have the freedom to think critically. So I have one class at Oxford, actually, how to read critically. So it's almost like, you know, develop methods to help students to think critically, to read critically, not to trust, you know, easily of any materials that you read. So this is actually relates to Ole's life of seeking the truth itself. And then the question is how? So in the methodological thinking, one way is really to triangulate data, triangulate information. Whatever information you read, you need to have the freedom and no fear to find other sources, other resources to triangulate whatever you read. So that's That's very key. It's a great challenge, Richard. Perhaps one day we may have one really section to discuss education and how the dumbing down society has been happening for two generations at least or more. And then and there has been some research, for example, a great challenge in Singapore. Singaporeans apparently are great in achieving high grade, but not in critical thinking, for example. So some study already been published on that. Another thing is also, so in Oxford, for example, there is one good system that before students go to a class of 30 or 60 or 100 students in one class, every student has a small group discussion of 4 to 6, like a group, small group like this. So particularly at the undergrad level, so they are able to critically discuss the material that they read before they go to big classes. So that actually encourages people to agree, disagree, and debate. And that's, I haven't observed much in Indonesia, because perhaps resources that in Indonesia we do not have such resources to basically have a small group debate and discussion before going to the big class. Another thing systematically in Indonesia I observed, which is rather or a big challenge, is many students I observed doing masters or PhD in Indonesia, many of them actually want to get the degrees, because if they do not get the degrees, they would not be able to go to the ladder of the career itself. So if education is systematically set up in that way, it means that it's not about pursuing knowledge or the truth, but it is actually pursuing the degree. So this is something that Indonesia, Farah, your generation, because you may be the next minister of education of our country. So this is something that we all need to, to think towards this direction. Just one last thing, Ole, thank you so much to remind me about to see the students, and because being seen actually, basically is the key for their mental and emotional states. One comment, or actually many comments, but the pattern is the same, that students at Oxford came to me, was basically they feel that they were acknowledged, their presence was acknowledged. So I can see that some of us here in this Zoom room are also educators and teachers. So just one tips, what I have done since 2015, actually memorize not only the name of every student that I will meet in a class, but also learning their biography. So for example, I will say, oh, Farah, before coming to Oxford, I understand that you did statistical study or computer science, things like that. So they felt that they are actually being acknowledged and being seen. So thank you for that, for reminding me that actually, something that every one of us needs to pursue. Thank you, Richard.